Hello and welcome to my channel Down White All Night. In today's special Halloween edition, we're reviewing the horror book and monster of a book, Stephen King's Christine. Of course, it being quite the monster, I did start it 2 weeks ago, but here we are on the verge of Halloween, and I felt it best to give a review of this horror classic. Welcome to my channel, Down White All Night, and tonight I'll be reviewing Stephen King's Christine. Published all the way back in April 1983, Christine tells a tale of love and loss, but not in any way you'd expect. We meet our main characters, best friends Dennis Gilder and Arnie Cunningham, in the summer of 1978. Arnie Cunningham is the textbook definition of what we'd call a nerd. His face is lined with pimples and his luck with girls is at an all-time low, whereas Dennis, on the other hand, is more of a sporting type and fares much better both in life and in high school. Both boys are in the prime of their youth, being 17 and full of that newfound energy all teenagers have, but Arnie and Dennis are not by far the only main characters here. Let me get you to picture an old American Plymouth 58 Fury, once gleaming red in the sun but now falling apart in front of a driveway belonging to an unusual man called Roland D. LeBay. As much as this is a love story with deeply dark consequences, it involves much more than boy meets girl. At the sight of this rusted old car, Arnie feels almost compelled to own it. But the real reasons for its appearance are far more sinister. There's something about this car. People don't walk in front of it, and despite being restored to a perfect condition, there is always a smell lingering beneath, a smell no one can pin down, but everyone agrees, apart from Arnie himself, that it is a stench that is rotting and rancid, and often makes people feel sick. As I've mentioned before in previous reviews, King's brilliance often comes in the forms of his descriptions in relation to inanimate objects. That is to say, King adds horror, suspense, and quite often disgust to things that would otherwise be void of such feelings. This car we're introduced to should be a beautiful classic, but is far from it. There's something about that car. Christine should be a beautiful vintage car, but she is not. She is an object of horror through the eyes of the characters as much as through the eyes of the reader. This beautiful car strikes something of terror within, and as we watch this journey unfold, Christine's gruesome past is revealed, along with its ever-sadistic present. This is certainly a love story, but it is also a dark tale of horror and suspense. In proper Stephen King fashion, it is not glammed up and neither in a wash of soppy cliches. It is no fairy tale. The book details tragedy and heartbreak through all characters involved, interplaying the breaking and abandonment of relationships between family and friends in early adolescence and later life. It's the realization that not all stories have a happy ending. Some just get so far and things move on. People move on. Character development throughout these pages is expertly crafted. Our main character, Arnie Cunningham, develops into a mere shadow of his former self as the book unfolds. He clashes with family, he clashes with friends, he clashes with his beautiful girlfriend Lake Abbott, a character who is caught between all the chaos, and eventually becomes something else entirely. Like yin and yang, the balances of good and evil are a constant raging battle throughout, a constant balance. King darts between characters and changes perspective to further enhance the narrative, and you really feel invested in the outcome of the story. And before I conclude here, I'd like to add a personal note about this story. When I feel something at the end of a story, whether the precise feeling can be pinned or not, I believe it's at that point that the book stands high above the rest. I suppose one would call that personal preference, but there were certainly parts throughout this book that related to me. With all said and done, I think it was King's telling of the madness of youth, how people change, how lovers part, and how life goes ever on in spite of everything. That struck such a chord with me. And I suppose that's why I like Stephen King so much. It's not only the gruesome horror, it's the simple relations to life and the struggles one can face. A story within a story, as it were. And although this book is not perfect, at times it does seem overly dramatic, and the final showdown felt a little lacking, I felt a real connection to the characters. And that is a very rare thing indeed. So to conclude on this special Halloween edition of this wonderful horror book, and I'm going to change the rating system up a little bit here. I think instead I'm going to rate books out of 100 now, because I just feel there's a lot of in-between ground here. With this book here, Stephen King's Christine, I'd rate it 88 out of 100. I would certainly recommend it to thriller and horror fans. Just don't go expecting a soppy love story. This is not. And my friends, my readers, happy Halloween. Thank you for watching. Time for some trick-or-treating. I might drop this in some kid's bag. God help them.